What you're about to see right here represents the biggest turning point of this man's career. You can see Ronaldo Nazario de Lima, a man who at the time was widely considered as the greatest footballer on the planet, preparing to go into this heated Copa Italia final after just recovering from a knee injury. But what would happen 6 to 7 minutes later will horrify the whole world. Ronaldo collapsed to the ground holding his knee and kept screaming uncontrollably. In the words of his physiotherapist, his kneecap actually exploded and it ended up in the middle of his thigh. This wasn't the first and it certainly wasn't the last time that this happened. The man's career was just never the same after this incident. Now, to put into context the long-term ramifications of this incident, before the age of 23 when this injury occurred, Ronaldo had already scored over 200 goals, won the World Cup, the Ballon d'Or, and also twice won the FIFA Men's Player of the Year, doing it while striking genuine fear into the hearts of the defenders he's faced. He was so good that he could have become the greatest player in the history of football before Messi and Ronaldo, but in that moment, it all seemed over. But like his nickname suggests, he was not normal. His body betrayed him, but his mind didn't. He was able to string together one more comeback, going on to achieve greater things, showing that he was football Superman. But just as Superman had a weakness, Ronaldo did too, as it came back time and time again, until he just couldn't do it anymore. Right from the beginning, Ronaldo had been struggling with life. Born in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil on the 18th of September 1976, Ronaldo's family was poor and this made life very difficult for young Ronaldo. He began playing in street soccer championships so he could earn himself some money, and it was during this period that his talents caught the eye of 1970 World Cup winner with Brazil, Jairzinho, who would later recommend him to Cruzeiro. He also received offers from the likes of Botafogo, Sao Paulo, and he was even turned down by Flamengo, the club he supported as a child, because he missed practice due to an inability to afford the transport fare to get to the training ground. At Cruzeiro, at just 16 years of age, Ronaldo became an absolute beast. Between 1993 to 1994, he scored 44 goals in 44 appearances as he led his club to their first Copa do Brasil in 1993 and the Minas Gerais State Championships in 1994. His monstrous pace, frightening power, and his devastating goal-scoring prowess garnered him a lot of plaudits from literally everyone. At such a young age, he was such a complete striker that had everything, and naturally, when you have a player that fits this description, they will often compare him to the late great Pelé. His performances at the time earned him a call-up to the Brazil 1994 World Cup squad at the age of 17 after only being called up for the first time 3 months earlier. Brazil went on to win the tournament, and although Ronaldo didn't play any part in it, it was a great achievement for the nation of Brazil. Shortly after the World Cup, in the same summer, he signed for PSV Eindhoven under the recommendation of Brazil teammate Romario, who also previously played there. Romario told me that PSV is one of the most professional and best organized clubs in Europe. He said it would be best to acclimatize in Europe and then learn about European football. I think he's right. Ronaldo will start life at PSV with a bang, scoring 10 minutes into his debut against Vitesse and also bagged the brace in his home debut against Go Ahead Eagles. He scored a total of 35 goals in 36 matches in the 1994-95 season, with 30 of those goals scored in the league. His performance at PSV was rapidly taking the entire world of football by storm, as many fans, pundits, managers, and players began keeping close tabs on this brilliant 18-year-old. People were showering this man with praises left, right, and center. His second season, however, did not go as planned, as it was a season marred by injuries. Nonetheless, he was still able to make 21 appearances, scoring 19 goals. Towards the end of that season, offers started pouring in from several major clubs in Europe, specifically Inter Milan and FC Barcelona. For Barcelona, this was a pivotal period for the club. They just sacked the much beloved, the legendary Johan Cruyff and replaced him with Bobby Robson. Barca president Josep Luis Nunes, unpopular at the time, needed a signing to appease the fans. According to Bobby Robson's book Farewell But Not Goodbye, he recalled the time he was approached by Luis Nunes, who asked for his recommendation on the signing of a new striker.
The president said, "Bobby, we need to fill all the seats in the stadium, and that's 110,000. We need the best centre forward in the world."
Robson proceeded and spoke to him about a certain Blackburn Rovers striker who was scoring goals for fun in the Premier League, who goes by the name Alan Shearer.
"You can tell us where there's one. Do you know where there is one?" I said, "Yes." "Who?" I said, "Alan Shearer."
He proceeded to assure Nunes that he was a guaranteed 30-goal-a-season striker and was of good behavior. Nunes was quickly on board and Barca approached Blackburn, but the reply they got was that Shearer was not for sale at any price. As time went on, with pre-season getting closer, Barca needed someone and they needed that person fast. And suddenly, Robson remembered that a friend of his and former PSV player Stan Vaux told him about a Brazilian tearing it up in Holland. There's this Brazilian kid of brilliant potential at PSV who's got better dribbling skills than Shearer. I know the club, they'll sell, and I think they'll take $10 million. Upon hearing this, Barca quickly went for him, but upon further negotiations, the fee kept increasing at one point to £11.5 million. A fed-up Luis Nunes then said to his manager, "You know your job depends on this." Soon after, Ronaldo was signed for a world record £13.2 million, and not too long after that, the previously unsellable Alan Shearer was signed by Newcastle United for a world record transfer fee of £15 million, and this infuriated Luis Nunes, who didn't know that Blackburn's rejection would turn out to be a blessing in disguise. But before that, all was not too well for Ronaldo back in Holland. The 1996 Olympics was around, and since Ronaldo spent a large number of time that season injured, the Brazilian Federation wanted to assess his fitness so they could decide whether he would be selected or not. So they decided to attend the Dutch Cup final against Sparta Rotterdam. With the Federation's representatives in attendance watching the match, Dick Advocaat, the PSV manager, not only did not start the Brazilian, but also made him warm up for 35 minutes before deciding to bring him on in the 75th minute of the match, and Ronaldo did not take kindly to this. It was a bad surprise when I found out I was only a sub, but then Advocaat made me warm up for 35 minutes before putting me on. He and Frank Arnesen had been asking me constantly about whether I wanted to go to the Olympics, and I not only told them yes, but I needed to prove my fitness in this cup final. It's my impression that they didn't want me to go and play for Brazil in Atalanta, and that's why I was left out. It's not being named as a sub that angered me, but when precisely it happened when Brazil Federation staffs had come to assess me. When I joined PSV, they told me they'd not put barriers in my way if I wanted to leave because I was unhappy, and that's how I feel now. With the situation heating up, Advocaat replied, "The door is open for him to leave and never come back. His treatment of PSV is unacceptable and infantile. I don't think this desire to depart has anything to do with the cup final, but that the vultures around him are using it as an excuse to force his departure." Now, what Advocaat meant by quote-unquote vultures around him were Ronaldo's representatives who always left a bad impression on everyone at the clubs he joined over their antics in trying to pursue the best deal for their clients, which then benefits them in return. Now, as Barca came in for Ronaldo, he unsurprisingly wanted to go, but PSV didn't want to lose him just yet. What Advocaat now implied with this statement from him was that the explosive interview he gave, in which he aired his discontent, had more to do with PSV not letting him leave rather than his treatment in the cup final, and that his representatives are using it as a tool to try to help him force a move out of the club. Ronaldo would later fire back at his manager, saying this: "Advocaat has no idea about football and no idea how to treat people," and just like that, he was out. Ronaldo went on to have an absolutely brilliant first and only season at Barcelona, scoring 47 goals in 49 matches as they won the Copa del Rey and the UEFA Cup Winners' Cup. But to say his first season at the club went smoothly as everyone would think was a big fat lie. Barcelona, a team in transition after only just tasting European success 4 years earlier, spent the season trailing behind Real Madrid in the title race, and naturally, the fans became frustrated. Nonetheless, Ronaldo kept doing his thing. The man literally steamrolled through every La Liga defense like it was nothing. The question at the back of every manager's mind at the time was not how to stop Barcelona, rather how to stop Ronaldo.
But I think that nobody has been able to unite speed, strength, vision of the game, execution, and be concrete. All those elements together. I've seen players that can do dribbles like nobody, they can score maybe like nobody, but the intelligence, the full package was.
At a point in the season when Tenerife was able to achieve this seemingly impossible feat, their tactics for the game was hailed as a blueprint for every other team to follow. His momentum would be slowed down after he suffered an injury against Valencia, a match in which he scored a hat-trick. He went on to play the next game, this time on the European stage against Red Star Belgrade, after assuring his manager that he was fit enough to play. In reality, he wasn't. He later described his performance in the match as like he was playing on one leg. So Bobby Robson hoped he would score early so he could take him off, but that never happened. Then the injury problems began. Barcelona spent the season trailing behind Real Madrid in the title race, and naturally, the fans became frustrated.
The day that Barcelona is 1 point behind Real Madrid will be a day of panic. You know, they don't like that, because they're afraid that you might lose the next game and therefore go 4 points behind Real Madrid, and then that is a complete and utter disaster.
The fans began getting frustrated with his trips to Brazil, and as the heated title race came to an end with Barca coming out on the losing end, some of the fans lost it as anti-Ronaldo sentiments began to grow. One of the major reasons for this was that towards the end of that season, Ronaldo was in a tight spot. His international duties with Brazil clashed with his duties at Barcelona, and for choosing the former at a crucial period when Barca needed him the most, he was vilified. Also around this period was the talks for a new contract 1 year into his reported 8-year contract. You see, Ronaldo's popularity and marketability had exceeded what was initially expected, so in order for Barca to be able to tie him down for longer, along with providing him a better deal, they struck an agreement with his representatives for a new, this time 10-year contract, which would see him earn €3 million per year and a buyout clause of €60 million. This deal was perfect, and Ronaldo himself stated that he wanted to stay at the club, but during the time he was out on international duty, the deal suddenly got called off, with Barca not being able to reach an agreement with Ronaldo's representatives. So Bobby Robson even felt that the problem was that Ronaldo blindly trusted his very unlikable representatives. With the uncertainty regarding Ronaldo's future, Inter Milan quickly swooped in and signed him for another world record fee of $27 million. His time at Inter Milan will continue to solidify him as a major threat in Europe, not that he wasn't one already. He would be awarded the Ballon d'Or and his second FIFA Best Player of the Year award midway through his first season, as his adventure at Inter saw him go from strength to strength. He had this captivating goal-scoring rivalry with Fiorentina's Gabriel Batistuta. That season, the 1997-98, saw him score 34 goals in 47 appearances in all competitions, with 25 of them scored in the league, and he also won the UEFA Cup with Inter that year. In the summer of 1998, the once every 4-year Festival of Football was now upon the world. Destination: France. For many, facing Brazil was a scary prospect. Not only did they have to contend with the difficulties of facing a team that talented, but their star man was a beast. Everyone was scared of Ronaldo. He was going into this World Cup, despite being only 21 years old at the time, as the best striker on the planet. As the tournament kicked off, Ronaldo did not disappoint, as his 4 goals and 3 assists led Brazil to the World Cup final, and standing in their way was Zinedine Zidane's France.
Who is the best player you have played with or against in your career?
Sans hésitation, Ronaldo.
Now, despite being on home soil, France were the underdogs going into the final, and the terrifying prospect of going up against Ronaldo made the French camp uneasy. As you can see from this clip, the French players even had a special training session dedicated to stopping Ronaldo. As the whole world prepared to watch the final, 72 minutes before the match, when everybody knew Ronaldo was going to play, his name was surprisingly removed from the starting 11 and replaced with Edmundo. This naturally caused chaos and pandemonium everywhere, as no one understood what was truly going on. The truth will eventually come out, as according to Brazilian team doctor Lidio Toledo, Ronaldo had been rushed to the hospital after suffering a convulsion in his sleep the night before the final.
Doctors called me to another room and he explained to me that I had a convulsion, that will not play. And I say, no, it's not possible. I want to play, I will play.
At 21 years old at the time, the pressure was too big for him to handle. We're talking about someone that young who was viewed as the best player on the planet, representing a country where expectations will always be high at the World Cup.
Everything is about the competition. You cannot disconnect from the competition. It's a lot of pressure.
As Brazil prepared to march out without their star man minutes before the final, Ronaldo, who was only recently hospitalized, made a dramatic return and convinced his managers to start him. As the team marched out to the pitch, you could see a lot of unhappy faces and a visibly tired Ronaldo. This will be the story of the entire match. Ronaldo, a player who was renowned for his work rate, always running around during matches, seemed disconnected from the action. His manager, Mario Zagallo, at one point in the match even contemplated removing him, but feared backlash from Brazil. And unsurprisingly, Brazil lost 3-0 as Le Bleu became world champions for the first time. Soon after, conspiracy theories started to pop up left, right and center. His food was poisoned, Nike forced him to play. There was just so much that happened in secret that many people are still trying to get the answers to till this day.
You know why you had this convulsion, this fit?
No, and nobody knows.
We lost the World Cup final, but I won another cup. My life, Ronaldo said after the final. While still clearly affected by what had transpired in the final, it was around this time that the biggest tragedy of Ronaldo's career will start to get closer, as soon after the World Cup he once again complained of pains in his knee. He returned to Inter Milan, carried out business as usual, and would see steady growth from there. But it would be in November 1999 that the first step of the tragedy occurred, as during a match against Lecce, Ronaldo felt that his knee had buckled and would be seen limping off the pitch. When he was later examined, it was discovered that he had ruptured a tendon in his knee and would require surgery to fix. This injury kept him out for 5 months, after which he would make his return in the first leg of the Copa Italia final against Lazio in 2000, as we discussed in the earlier part of this video. And as you already know, this did not end well for him at all. 7 minutes after Ronaldo got onto the pitch, he would attempt his usual step over shoulder feint, and then he dramatically collapsed to the ground. Screaming in pain while holding his knee, the players, both his teammates and the opposition players, were visibly horrified. He soon received medical attention, was stretchered out, and was immediately taken to the hospital. The news came out that he had completely ruptured his kneecap tendons, an injury which his physiotherapist Nilton Petron called the worst football injury he's ever seen. His kneecap actually exploded and it ended up in the middle of his thigh. Ronaldo's career was never the same ever since. He had to undergo surgery yet again, but the certainty of his return to football was under massive doubts. During his interview with 442, Nilton Petron recalled what Ronaldo went through during this period. He talked about how after the surgery his knee was the size of a football, and the few moments in which he cried that he should have been given morphine to reduce the pain of the injury. He also touched on what he was going through mentally. One day in the middle of the night he called me and asked, "Tell me I'm going to be able to play football again. Please, don't lie to me." Now, in the same interview, Petron highlighted something really important, and it's the reason why Ronaldo suffered so many injuries during his career. According to him, Ronaldo had a problem known as trochlear dysplasia. This makes the relationship between the kneecap and the femur a bit unstable. There's no direct surgery for that, so the kneecap keeps, for lack of a better word, dancing on the femur. Now, what effects does this have on Ronaldo as a player? Well, considering Ronaldo is an extraordinarily fast player who's able to run 100 meters in 10.3 seconds, added with the fact that his playing style requires constant and frequent change of pace and direction, he was at massive risk of knee injuries because due to the abnormal shape of the trochlear groove in his kneecap was not properly stable. Part of the symptoms for trochlear dysplasia is knee pains and knee aching, which is something that Ronaldo had been suffering for several years during his PSV, Barcelona and his Inter Milan days. Since most of the trochlear dysplasia cases are believed to be genetic, with the way in which he was playing, these injuries were unfortunately bound to happen. Ronaldo's body just couldn't handle his explosive style of football. Also, people with this condition are usually at higher risk of re-injuring their knee after recovering from a prior one, and that was exactly what happened to Ronaldo. Due to this injury, Ronaldo missed the entire 2000-2001 season. He had an injury-filled return after that, and due to this, he was facing a possibility of missing the 2002 World Cup. Determined to not let that happen, Ronaldo began his rehabilitation as he would train several hours per day so he could make it in time for the tournament. It also helped that the Brazil coach at the time, Luis Felipe Scolari, was literally waiting for him to be fit so he could be selected for the World Cup. The faith the manager showed in him most likely motivated him to make the great comeback, and in true Ronaldo fashion, he did. The 2002 World Cup rolled around, and despite Brazil's poor showing in the qualifiers, a lot was still expected from them, particularly due to the major talents they possessed in the squad. The Inter Milan striker first began getting people talking after he revealed his crazy haircut, which according to him was a way he devised in order to take people's attention off his injury. Ronaldo was back, but even though he was not as explosive anymore due to the injuries, he was still able to adapt himself according to his body's demands. Ronaldo, just like a phoenix rising from the ashes, rose to the occasion, putting every single thing he had been through over the past few years behind him, as he went on to score in every single World Cup game except in the quarterfinal against England, as Brazil made it to the World Cup final, which would be played against Germany. It was 1998 all over again for Ronaldo. Imagine the thoughts going through his head at the time.
And I was looking for people there to talk to.
You didn't want to go to sleep?
Yeah.
In case it happened again?
Yeah, I didn't want to go to sleep.
Ronaldo went on to smash 2 goals past the Germans as he won Brazil their 5th and final World Cup to this day. As Ronaldo won his 2nd World Cup that night, months later he was awarded the Ballon d'Or. But before that, his World Cup performances caught the eye of one certain ambitious and powerful man who happened to be the club president of Real Madrid, Florentino Perez, who at the time was building something quite monstrous, and after the signings of Figo and Zidane, Ronaldo was next on his list, and so it happened. Ronaldo scored 26 goals in his first season as he led Real Madrid to the La Liga title while amazing everyone in every single game he played. His most memorable moments came in the Champions League quarter-final at Old Trafford when his hat-trick against Manchester United earned him a standing ovation from the entire stadium. In his second season, Real were on their way to winning a treble, but Ronaldo's injuries as well as a late season slump saw them throw it all away. His final 2 seasons at the club was filled with so many injuries and weight problems, which began to raise a lot of questions about his lifestyle and his lack of training. Madrid's 2006 signing of Ruud van Nistelrooy was a signal for Ronaldo that he had to go. Soon after, he became an AC Milan player, but the most impressive part of this transfer was how he was able to sign for the rivals of clubs he played for in the past with little to no backlash. His time at Milan will unfortunately be cut short after he ruptured his kneecap yet again. This was the 3rd career-ending injury, and just like that, he was out of Milan and he went back to Brazil as he signed for Corinthians. However, his return to Brazil would be met with immense backlash from Flamengo fans, a club he supported as a child, for signing for a rival club, with some even labeling him a phenomenal traitor, to which he would later explain himself, saying that he had trained at Flamengo for 4 months but he never got signed, so he chose the club that wanted him. Ronaldo would rediscover his form in Brazil, but his weight problems was increasingly becoming a cause for concern. Ronaldo suffered from a problem known as hypothyroidism, a condition which slows down metabolism and causes weight gain. Just like that, in Ronaldo's ongoing battle with his body, he finally lost, and his retirement would be announced in 2011. Ronaldo, throughout his illustrious career, picked up many prestigious trophies and accolades such as the World Cup and Ballon d'Or, but surprisingly, he never won the Champions League. He was a massive talent who gradually got limited by his body. He fought his body for so long, but unfortunately lost. Ronaldo is currently doing well for himself. He's a majority owner of Spanish club Real Valladolid and also owns a controlling share at his boyhood club Cruzeiro, as well as holding an ambassadorial position in the United Nations. It's very hard to leave something that made me so happy. Mentally, I wanted to continue, but I have to acknowledge that I lost to my body. The head wants to go, but the body can't take anymore. I think of an action, but I can't do it the way I want to. It's time to go.